woke up in his castle on the hill. He didn't have the slightest idea what was going to happen to him that day. He rode into the forest with his friends. Suddenly, from nowhere, a thick, cold fog blew into the woods. The cloud of fog covered the prince from head to toe. A minute later, the fog drifted away and was gone. Gone, too, was Prince Sleep. His friends searched for him all that day and all that night, and in the morning they rode to the castle to tell the king the strange story of the fog that rolled in from the sky and took away the sun. Someone look at this picture of the king. Tell me, how does he feel? Sad. Why would he be sad? The son is lost. Do you think he's sad because he loved his son? Yeah. Now the king loved his son more than anything, even more than the riches of his kingdom, which he loved very much. He sent for his strongest men and his wisest men. Whoever finds Prince Lini, he said, and brings him back to me, will win half of my kingdom. The strongest men, and those not so strong, searched far and wide. The wisest men, and those not so wise, searched wide and far. And all over the kingdom, people heard the news that the prince had disappeared in a cloud of fog. Anyone who had ever wanted half a kingdom set out to search for the prince. Because the king loved his riches so much, almost everyone in the kingdom was poor. So almost everyone took part in the search for the prince. Really quickly, what's something that would influence who went to search for the king, for the prince? Who went to search for the prince? Rich people?
Or
People who needed money. So the people who needed money were the ones who searched for the prince. Because what was the king promising?
half kingdom.
Half his kingdom. Would you do something like that for half a kingdom?
Yeah.
One fine morning, Signy, a poor peasant girl, woke up in her cottage at the edge of the forest. She didn't have the slightest idea what was going to happen to her that day. But she had heard about the missing prince and about the king's reward for half the kingdom. She knew that the strongest and wisest men had looked far and wide. I'll look near and narrow, she thought. Signy knew the secret places of the forest better than anyone else. She knew everything you had to know about living in the city in the icy winters of Iceland. She knew how to walk against the wind. She knew the best ways to keep warm and what to put on frostbitten noses and toes to make them feel better. She put on a pair of sturdy shoes for walking, and took along some food. And she set out to search for Prince Lini. So where did she say she was going to search? Near and narrow. Where did everyone else search? Far and wide. All that day she looked. She saw nothing but tree shapes in the snow. All that day she called. She heard nothing but the song of the icy wind. But what's something you guys notice about the illustrations? Are they colorful? So would this be a happy kind of a story? Really, it is a little scary. The sun began to set and the sky turned rosy. Soon it would be dark. Signy walked through the narrow place between the rocks to her favorite warm cave and peered inside. There, stretched on a golden bed, was Prince Lini, fast asleep. She ran into the cave and tried to wake him, but he slept on in a deep, deep sleep. All of a sudden, she heard a clatter, a chatter. She ran to hide in the darkest corner of the cave. What do you think happened? Any guesses?
Someone's gonna find it.
Someone's gonna find him. Let's see. Two troll girls, a tall troll and a shorter troll, entered the cave. Fee, fo, fum, furl, I smell the flesh of a human girl, sang the short troll. No, said the tall troll, it's Then the trolls whistled. Signy listened carefully to the notes of the whistle. 2 swans flew into the cave. The short troll said, sing, oh swans of mine, sing, Prince Selene awake. So is this something magical that is happening in the story? Is this an everyday thing? No. What's the magical event that happened? There are trolls. And what else? They're whistling for what to come? What are these?
Swans.
Swans. They're whistling for swans to come to wake him up. So does that mean that he is in a normal sleep? No. Some kind of magic involved here, right? So that's another way that we know that it's a folk tale and it's not true, not real life. The swan sang. Prince Selene stirred, rubbed his eyes, and sat up. Now, said the short troll, for the 97th time, will you marry one of us? Never, said the prince. Never, never, never. You'll be sorry, said the tall troll said. Then she commanded the swans. Sing, oh swans of mine, sing Prince Selene asleep. The swans sang, and Prince Selene fell fast asleep again. The swans flew out of the cave. So what is the problem going on so far? They stole the prince, and, well, she found him. Now what? Can she just take him? No. What problem would she have to take him back?
Gotta carry him.
You gotta carry him? Okay. What else?
Fight the troll.
He's under a spell, so he's not awake. So can he walk or run away? No. From her hiding place, Signy could see and hear everything. The next morning, the trolls left the cave with a clattering and a chattering. Signy crept from her hiding place. She felt stiff and sore from crouching the whole night in the dark corner. She gave herself a shake all over. Signy remembered how the trolls whistled and whistled the same notes. The swans flew into the cave. Signy said, sing, oh swans of mine, sing, Prince Selene awake. The swans sang. Prince Selene stirred, rubbed his eyes, and sat up and rubbed his eyes again. Troll, he said, what has happened to you? You look very different. I'm not a troll, said Signy, and nothing has happened to me except that I found you. I'm Signy. I'm very pleased to meet you, said the prince. The prince told Signy how the trolls had cast a spell on him with their magic fog, and how they were holding him a prisoner, until he agreed to marry one of them. Then Signy told the prince how sad the king was, and how he had often offered half the kingdom, how he had even offered half the kingdom to anyone who found his son and brought him home. No one has found me except you, said the prince, but I don't know whether I want to be found. It's nice and warm in this cave. It's nice to have the trolls asking me to marry them every day. Signy gave the prince a funny look. That wasn't me, said the prince. The real reason is that I don't want to go home. It makes me sad to see how the kingdom is run, and the king will listen to no one. The rich are too rich and hardly work, and the poor are too poor and work too hard. Yes, said Signy sadly. Everyone I know is poor, and we work all the time. The prince looked at Signy and he began to laugh. He jumped up and down on the golden bed, laughing and laughing. What's so funny about being poor? Signy asked. That's just it, cried the prince. You won't be poor if you get half the kingdom and you can share it with everyone. Please, Signy, take me back to the king and take half the kingdom. Please. No. First things first, said Signy. The first thing is to get you out of here. Why can't we get out of here right while I'm awake? Said the prince. No, said Signy. The trolls will surely send their magic fog before we get out of the woods. They will make me a prisoner too. Along with you, you must find out from the trolls where they go and what they do during the day. It's the only way. The prince agreed. Okay, now let's play checkers, he said. So they played checkers until the sun began to set and the sky turned rosy. Then Signy whistled. The swans flew into the cave and sang